There are guns that you should have, and then there's guns you must have. And today I'm going to bring to you, I think, the best list I've ever done on this channel. 7 wildly different guns, right? And so it's going to be a comprehensive look at specific pistols that I think everybody should own. Not just striker fired, not just hammer fired. Not just expensive guns and not just budget guns, but these things range all over the place. So if you like this type of content, consider subscribing and hit your notifications so you never miss one from me. The first one we're going to look at is the Beretta M9A3. Now there is a M9A4 if you're so inclined. It's optics ready and all that, right? And I think it gives you increased capacity by 1. These are 17 round mags. The new ones come with 18. But even a base Beretta M9 is still a pretty damn good gun. Now, I was never a believer really in Beretta until I shot this gun. And let me tell you, this is a special pistol, man. At the range, this thing is an absolute beast. And it was a service pistol for a long time too. Threaded barrel right here. You have an exposed barrel, which looks pretty interesting, really different, right? But the way the action is designed is different too. It actually has a falling block under here. So here's how the action works. You have a falling block right here. And so essentially this will drop down. And then once it gets to a certain point, it's going to hit part of the frame in here, which will then stop the barrel from moving. The slide goes back, ejects that round, strips a new one. They come back together like that. And so this is actually a design from World War II. The Walther P38 used this falling block design, but it allows the barrel to essentially stay in the same position, right? It doesn't move, leading to a super accurate gun. It is a reliable design that not many companies use, and this thing is super accurate. Like one of the most accurate pistols I've ever put into my hands, and I've shot a lot of pistols. They also slimmed down the grip quite a bit on this one, which is why I like the A3 and A4. This Vertec style grip panels here that are replaceable too. And then you have a metal, highly resistant steel frame, Cerakote finish. You can swap the decocker in safety if you have that version to just the decocker, which is the version I have right here. Iridium night sights, which pick up perfectly, right? The only thing I'm missing is the ability to add that red dot. And again, when you pull the hammer back, the reach to the trigger is a lot less than what the original M9s were. And that trigger is smooth. Even in double action, it's not too bad at all. Extended magazine release. The Beretta M9 is one of those guns. Don't look past it, man. If you're like really into striker fired guns, this is one right here that may take your striker fired guns and put them in the safe for a while, because this thing is one hell of a shooter, and it comes with these sand resistant mags. Plus you got to think we're kind of the beneficiaries of this design. Beretta was looking to get that new contract from the Army. They lost out on it, but everything they put into this gun is one hell of a pistol, looks good, and shoots even better. The Beretta M9 is definitely one you should have. Next gun we're going to talk about is the beautiful CZ Shadow 2. Now again, fortunately, this isn't the only option, right? You can go with the optics ready version. They have a new orange version, which actually has a barrel bushing, tuned trigger. I think it's hand fitted to the frame as well. But you can also go with like the CZ75 Shadow, right? Which is kind of what this gun was derived from. You can go with an original CZ75. There's a whole host of different 75 options, but they all have one big feature that make them incredible. As far as the features on this gun, single slotted rail. It is a steel frame coated in nitrite, and they have a poly coat on the frame as well. So super resistant to any kind of weather or anything like that. You have a little bit of serrations on the front of the trigger guard. Decent opening in the trigger guard. I'd say there probably should be some more room in here, just if you want to get a gloved finger in there. Checkering on the front strap. Aluminum blue grips. Checkering on the back strap there as well. Again, this is a big old heavy gun that shoots better than most guns I've ever put in my hand. Fiber optic front sight, adjustable rear sight, serrations up top, and you have a low profile ambi safety here, and you can reverse the magazine release. And one thing they did is they actually give you a little bit of beveling down here on the magwell and a high beaver tail with a better undercut under the trigger guard to give you more control of the gun. One other thing I'll point to before we get to the main feature is you do have an adjustable magazine release here. So you have a couple of slots that you can move that around in depending on, you know, what position you want that on. Like I said, there's just 3 of them. I keep it right there because that seems to work just fine. But if you wanted it in a different position, like that actually may be a little bit better because I can actually reach it without having to break my grip. I've heard some horror stories too about these screws being Superman Loctited as well. So if you use some heat, you should be able to get those loosened up. But I kind of switched mine right there as well. This gun's claim to fame though, you'll notice how low the bore is. Or even just from here, you notice how small the slide is, right? If we look at something like this Echelon, right? See how small the slide is compared to, you know, an Echelon or any pistol really besides these. Well, what it is, notice the rails right there, right there. It actually rides on the inside of the frame. You can see where it makes contact right there, which makes this into one of the flattest shooting guns I've ever put in my hands. It is truly one of those special guns. And again, you don't have to spend a ton of money to get into these things. As a matter of fact, we'll talk about one right here. This is the SAR 2000, and this thing impressed me so much that it's going to be on this list. Now, we could replace this with a traditional CZ75. This is a Turkish-made gun, right? SAR is the biggest small arms producer in Turkey, right? They were starting in like 1880 or something. So they've been around a long time. And obviously this is a copy of the CZ75. But when I did a review on this thing not too long ago, it really blew me away. It's a much lighter gun than what I just showed you in the CZ Shadow. But again, you do have that safety right there. It's not ambidextrous. You have the internal frame rails right there. So that's how, you know, again, this thing is going to be super low recoiling, low muzzle rise, and all of that. And it's got a single action trigger. While not tuned like the CZ, still pretty decent for what it is. And so, you know, rubberized grips in here. You get 17 rounds in the magazine, just like the Shadow 2, and a little bit smaller, a little bit more concealable if that's something that you want to do with this gun. No rail or anything like that, so it does limit it a little bit. You have basic white dot sights there, but all in all, the SAR 2000 to me is a great copy to the CZ75. If it were me, I would probably go with the CZ75, you know, the original gun, unless I found this one on a screaming deal. Because if I found this on a screaming deal, man, I'm telling you, this is one heck of a shooter, and something if you like DA SA guns and you get this at a good price, this thing is one hell of a truck gun, or even like outside the waistband carry if you want to go that route. Next gun we're going to talk about is the Glock. What? Headshot? Glock? Yeah, I'm not a Glock hater, right? I understand their limitations. I absolutely believe that they just kind of ride that name out and come out with a new model and make very minor changes and people just start buying them up, right? So I think there's better polymer frame guns, but I think to have a Glock is super important, right? Rugged, reliable guns that really started all of the polymer frame striker fired pistols that we see today. Yeah, HK did it first, but Glock did it first successfully, and everybody should own a Glock. If for no other reason that you can take this, you can change it into whatever the heck you want, or you can keep it bone stock like I pretty much do with all of my guns anyways. But generally speaking, you can take these guns to hell and back and they will still run. Now y'all saw me have issues with the 47. Still working on that 1,000 round update, so we'll see if those things have cleared. but the ability to swap frames around, right? So now I have myself a modified 19X, or I got myself a little Glock 19 with a longer slide with the 47, right? You know, if you, let's just say, you know, end of the world scenario, you know, if you need something that is compatible with almost anybody, right? They've made like 20 million of these things, maybe more. I don't know. That was the number I saw, but I could be wrong there because it sounds kind of low. Regardless, if you need something compatible that most people have in the US, this would be a good option, right? You're not always going to find, and again, we're talking about end of the world scenarios. You know, I know everybody kind of plays into that, but, you know, we're talking about The Walking Dead. Not everybody's going to have CZ Shadow 2 magazines. Not everybody's going to have Springfield Echelon magazines, but most people will have Glock magazines, right? And the wide variety of magazine options that you have with this gun make it important as well. Size, weight, and capacity, pretty much unmatched. They have been for a long time. Some of their smaller guns, I would, you know, say no. You know, they're 43s, the 43X, the 42. I'm not a huge fan of those guns at all, but the duty size guns from Glock, to me, it makes sense to have at least one that you can just throw on a battle belt or something like that. It's just a really good gun to keep around for SHTF scenarios. There's no way I would tell y'all to get a Glock without telling you to get maybe the second most popular pistol in the country, but definitely one of the best striker fire guns on the planet. It amazes me that people still don't look at Smith & Wesson, the M&P series, and say, dude, that is so much better in every way from Glock. So we were talking about the SHTF scenarios, and so there's going to be a lot of people with M&P magazines as well. They are super popular. I was talking to somebody when I was playing Hell Let Loose the other day. By the way, you should follow that channel where I talk about gaming stuff and all of that. But you know, he was asking me, he was like, hey man, you know, you review guns, what's your favorite gun? And, you know, that's a hard question to answer, but I told him, hey, you know, I would have to break it down, you know, carry guns, World War II, rifles, all of that. And I said, you know, when it comes to carry guns, the Shield Plus. He was like, Smith & Wesson? You know, like super shocked. So it still surprises me that people don't see how good these things have gotten. Now, this is one of the new metal versions. They have their fish scale style serrations that they're doing on this. You also have the Competitor, which is a better serration. So every iteration, they just get better. Full rail up here. This one's optics ready. Obviously, I got the 508T on there, the green dot, interchangeable palm swells right there. And this metal design just looks fantastic. It shoots even better. The trigger from the original M&Ps to now is not even comparison. Boom. Reset. Right there. And the thing about the M&P series is even though they have a gun they could charge more for, they don't. Almost every M&P is reasonably priced and you can still get parts and accessories and all kinds of things for these, but they're making it to where you almost don't have to even buy anything for it except for an optic if you get the optics ready version. The M&P Metal series and the M&P series in general has become, to me, one of the best striker fired guns, especially if you want something at a decent price. Next one we're going to talk about, boom, Heritage 22. Well, not necessarily a Heritage 22, although it is a good option. You know, if you want something cheap, you know, a little snake gun or, you know, a little training gun or something like that, but a 22 pistol in general. Now, I will tell you the best semi-auto 22 I've ever shot is actually the FN 502. I did a review on that recently, and that thing is incredible. But I almost feel like you have to get that gun with a suppressor because the whole setup that my buddy has is just incredible, man. He has got a little Oculus 22 on there, and the whole setup is awesome, but some kind of a 22 pistol because this can serve you really well in multiple roles, whether that's training, whether you just want to shoot cheaper, introduction to guns in a very non-threatening way, take small game. I mean, there's all kinds of things that 22 is still used for, and it is one of the best suppressor hosts that you can actually get. Now, of course, you have a variety of 22 ammo as well, 22 short, 22 long, 22 Magnum. There's a lot out there. There's a new M&P 22 Magnum, which might be a good option as well. So some kind of a 22 is vital in a survival scenario, training, and everything else we just talked about. I believe having a 22 pistol is a must-have. The last one we're going to talk about for today is a good carry gun, right? And so there's a lot of options out there. The Shield Plus is probably my favorite, but becoming one of my favorite carry guns from this year, especially the FN Reflex. And so having a good, small, reliable carry gun, I feel like for most people, is going to be a better option than some of these others that I have shown. And the reason is because the lighter, more comfortable the gun is, the more likely you are to carry it every single day. That doesn't mean that you have to go with the smallest gun out there. I've talked about this extensively. But some kind of carry gun, right? So the FN Reflex, it has a little rail right here, so you can put a light or a laser. Front and rear slide serrations. Awesome set of sights right there. It's going to be a little bit snappy, but all these guns are. 11 rounds in the standard magazine. And you also have a 15-round magazine as well. And all in all, this has been one of the best ones. And one thing I like they did as well is they actually put an internal hammer instead of a striker, making that trigger pull super predictable. Again, if you want something, you don't like the FN Reflex or you can't find one still, they make these optics ready too, by the way. The Shield Plus is my first option, but I wanted to show you something a little bit different because like I said, the FN Reflex has really impressed me. Now, if you like this type of video, surely you might like one of the other ones that I'll leave a card up here for. And again, if you like what I do and you want to join us right here, I'll leave a link down below so you can join the channel. All in all, I appreciate you guys, and let me know your 7 best guns, or if you have ideas just like this, I may take those ideas and put them into a future video. You look for our uploads on Sundays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and shorts sprinkled throughout the week. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.